5 seconds. Thank you for coming to Delhi at such a short notice despite your preoccupations with droughts and with the floods. We are faced today with the most serious challenge. It has brought a drought which is truly exceptional in coverage and severity. The rains have been seriously deficient in large parts of the country. In some states, this is the third or even the fourth consecutive year of drought. Despite rains in the second half of August easing the situation in many areas, the basic picture remains unaltered. In terms of rainfall deficiency, this year's drought is comparable to the drought of last year. It is not unusual for a few states to suffer from drought or flood each year, but what we face today is very different. We cannot meet it with routine response. The situation calls for a total mobilization of the national will. It calls for austerity and dedication. It calls for complete cooperation between the center and the state governments. We must together develop a shared understanding of the dimensions of this national problem, a common strategy for meeting the challenge, and a firm resolve to ensure implementation on the ground. Each one of you is aware of the damage done in your state, the hardship, the distress, and the suffering that has been caused. I have been traveling to some of the worst affected areas to see things for myself. There is no doubt that the situation on the ground is grave. It is the poorest and the weakest who are the hardest hit. Their needs are the most urgent. Meeting these needs is our highest priority. Millions of landless laborers, marginal farmers, and smallholders are facing precipitous decline in incomes. We will not let anyone starve. Their minimum needs of food will be met. Employment must be provided through large scale drought relief works which reach every affected family. These must be supplemented by effective utilization of the substantial allocations already made for rural employment programs. Drinking water is posing a serious problem in many areas. The recent rains have helped, but the problem is by no means over. We should look at the drinking water position in the perspective of the coming 10 months or so until the next rains come. Schemes must be initiated how to meet the drinking water requirements of the most vulnerable areas in the lean months before the rains next year. Drought has sharply reduced the availability of fodder. Cattle are threatened, especially in the more fragile areas. Special arrangements will have to be made for the production of fodder, its distribution and transport. We also need to vastly expand the network or cattle camps in affected areas. Over and above these immediate tasks, we need to devise a multi pronged strategy to counter the drought on several fronts together. The strategy will have to be implemented during the course of the coming year. The key elements have been spelled out in the action plan for the drought and flood relief circulated for this meeting. The action plan deals with the questions of employment, drinking water, and fodder, which I have already mentioned. I should like to touch upon some of the other points mentioned in the action plan. First and foremost, we have to maximize output in the coming Rabi season by providing our farmers with the inputs they need. As there is no escaping a sharp decline in food grains production, we must mount a special campaign to make up as much of the shortfall as possible through the Rabi crop. This will require concerted action by state governments working in close coordination with the union departments of agriculture, irrigation, and power. We must ensure that wherever possible, relief works are oriented towards not only providing employment but also ensuring a degree of drought proofing in the affected areas. We must aim at creating permanent assets which help conserve water and improve irrigation. We must be prepared to face some shortfall in hydroelectric generation from November onwards, which we should try to offset by special efforts to step up thermal generation. More generally, a great deal remains to be done to improve power management. Better power management can reduce the disruptive effects of shortages when they occur. Finally, we must use our strong public distribution system to the fullest advantage. We have a large stock of food grains. Effective supply management combined with vigilant action against hoarders can reduce the dangers of speculation and keep prices in check.